kick it off with the Atlantic, our top story. And new information, and especially if you're just now joining us, we now have an Invest 92L designated in the Atlantic.
Still a pretty unorganized mess of storms, right? There have been some factors that it's been battling, things that would limit its development, a little bit of dry air. But we are watching this thing slowly form, or at least get its act together. As a reminder, the next name on the naming list for the Atlantic Basin is Gabrielle.
So the Atlantic, slow to wake up this season. Perhaps it's still kind of sleeping out there. But we haven't had any named storms in the basin since August 28th. And so it's been a little bit of time. We've seen 6 named storms, 1 hurricane that became a major hurricane in the Atlantic, which was impressive to see nonetheless. Yep.
New this hour, bring in Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross. We talked to him just last hour. And Bryan, it's almost as if as soon as we got done chatting with you, the National Hurricane Center deciding to designate this thing as an Invest 92L now. I mean, doesn't mean much as far as its organization right now, but there is going to be more focus that we get on this entity now.
Yeah, that allows them to run their fancy hurricane computer models that we look at to get a little better idea of what will happen in the internal part of the system and also what the environment around it is. It just gives us a little more information. It doesn't say anything about any kind of change in the system, but it does indicate that they're interested in it and investigating it. So here we have Invest 92L is the name, still 80% chance of developing in the next 7 days, 40% in the next 2 days. And what makes this one a little more interesting than anything we've seen over the last few weeks is the thunderstorms here have been persistent. So there is enough moisture with the system to keep it going. And indeed, the computer models are very interested in it. When we look at it close up here on the visible picture, kind of like a photograph from space, and then we add the computer generated winds, what we see about the winds, look at the flow is like this, kind of a very sharp kink in the flow. A tropical wave is the kind of technical name. And usually things develop up at the top end of the wave here. But what's keeping it from developing is the dust. Look out there at the dust just wrapping around into it. And you can see down here on the bottom side, that's where it's dried out and not allowing a circulation to develop right now. But the thinking is that enough moisture will filter up in here and it will be able to develop a circulation here pretty soon. Hurricane Center saying somewhere in this area it will kind of get its act together, and 80% chance that that's going to happen. Now, with our exclusive tropical threat graphic where we take the European, the US GFS, and the Google DeepMind AI model and say, looking at that combination of models, where is it most likely to become at least a tropical depression? Where is it most likely to develop a circulation? And you can see the idea is that not a low odds, so down in here somewhere in the short term, but then when it gets up in here, then very high odds that it will develop. So the good news here is that if it does develop in this area with the high odds, it's well northeast of the Caribbean islands. So that's the thinking right now. So let's look at, this is the European model and just see what it's showing. So there's that kind of kink in the flow right now that we were looking at. Let's go forward in time. So watch the time up in the upper left. There we are on Wednesday, coming up in a couple days. And now we've got a little more circulation going here. And so possibility that we have a tropical depression forming at that time. All right, now let's go forward for the rest of the week ahead, so all the way till next Monday. Here you see it misses the islands pretty well. Bermuda is going to have to watch. We have more of a circulation, probably at least a tropical storm there, maybe even a hurricane south of Bermuda. So here we are a week from today, Monday the 22nd, and that's just about all. We have these other disturbances down here in the tropics, but nothing showing forming. When we look at the overall Atlantic, look what we have. This is that storm system, that upper level part of the storm system that is affecting the mid-Atlantic coast there. But looking out into the Atlantic, look, we have a low pressure system here, we have a low pressure system here, and we have a low pressure system over here. On all these, on the bottom side of that low with the flow like this, those are hostile conditions here. So we have hostile all across the Atlantic, and they're kind of caused by what's called wave breaking. If you notice, it looks almost like a wave here breaking, and then a low pressure forms on the bottom end of that. So when we get that kind of wave breaking kind of pattern over the Atlantic, very often we have hostile conditions, and there we are. So only one system really of concern at the moment, otherwise nothing going. But we're going to watch these dips in the jet stream here in the eastern part of the U.S. So when we get later into September and into October, those dips can pull systems north out of the southern Gulf or the Caribbean. So again, no sign of that right now, but we're going to keep our eye out for that. This very persistent pattern is forecast to stay with us, some version of it here for the next week at least. Quick look in the Pacific. We have a tropical storm. That one's going to stay offshore, except that the moisture from this could move up into Southern California. So that'll be something unusual for summertime, and the next system looks like it might develop right in there. But in general, no significant threats anywhere across the Atlantic, with the exception maybe of Bermuda next week. So folks in Bermuda will keep an eye out for that, but they are hurricane hardened, if any place is in this part of the world. Guys?
It is interesting to see because we're in the middle part of September. Then you look towards the end of September where things seem to be manageable, at least at this point. The Pacific's also interesting, though, right, Brian? It's, from my regards, Stephen and I were tracking moisture from Juliet heading to San Diego and tallying up the hundredths of an inch that fell. Yet again, we could see some moisture get into Southern California. So it's been very active here in the Eastern Pacific, needless to say. So
Exactly, yes.
Yeah. All right, well, sometimes it's nice not to have anything pressing and urgent to talk about. We'll take it. Fox Weather.
Bizarrely quiet, yes.
Yes, we'll take it. Fox Weather hurricane specialist Bryan Norcross. Thanks, Brian.